The U.S. flag, it is the greatest symbol of freedom this world has ever seen, and that's not an exaggeration. And therefore, one of the most execrable acts anyone on our soil can do is disrespect it. I mean, that's why Colin Kaepernick, that entire affair infuriated so many Americans. You are disrespecting our country to its core when you disrespect that flag. And so when I see people dishonor the flag by kneeling and even burning it, which is what we're seeing now, it enrages the hell out of me. Well, this weekend was Flag Day, and Senator Steve Daines of Montana proposed an amendment that would make it illegal to burn or desecrate the American flag. And of course that ignited, and pun intended, all right, because I'm corny as hell. It ignited a debate over whether a flag burning ban is a show of patriotism, is it an infringement of free speech. There was lots of opinions on Twitter and online, some of them good, some of them awful. But here's what I'll tell you this entire debate, what it is: a distraction. This debate is a total distraction from the far more important debate of what to do over conservative voices being silenced in the media and on the internet. And I mean, we're fussing over the handful of people who burn flags every year. Come on. Over the last 40 years, there have been a handful of attempts to ban flag burning, and guess what? They always end up failing, or what happens is that they succeed right before getting overruled. Because we as a nation, we largely agree that the freedom to express one's distaste with the government needs and must be protected, even when it means tolerating something as infuriating as watching a bunch of doofus losers burn the flag. Late, great Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, he's the OG conservative, and with whom, if I ever find myself disagreeing, I tend to have to go lie down. Well, here's what he said on this exact issue, and the issue that the Supreme Court has already decided on.
If I were king, I would not allow people to go about burning the American flag. However, we have a First Amendment which says that the right of free speech shall not be abridged, and it is addressed in particular to speech critical of the government. I mean, that was the main kind of speech that tyrants would seek to suppress. Burning the flag is a form of expression. Speech doesn't just mean written words or oral words. It could be semaphore. Burning a flag is a symbol that expresses an idea. I hate the government is unjust, whatever.
If I were king, I'd too ban the hell out of it. Hell, if I were king, cats would be banned. Vegetarians would be jailed. Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez, she'd be marooned. Cyclists would be banned from the road so they couldn't ride at 5 miles per hour in the middle of the lane while I get the tailwind of their dreadlocks in my grill. But we don't have kings in America. We were founded on not having that. Instead, we have a constitution in which we have enshrined our unalienable rights. This government was specifically designed to maximize freedom for everyone. And that means we must always be allowed to express ourselves, even if it's in the dumbest and most offensive ways possible. Even if it means being exposed to someone you find absolutely distasteful or obnoxious or wrong. Because after all, flag burning is utterly obnoxious and distasteful and wrong. But conservatives are the ones who believe just because you're offended by something does not mean it should be illegal. I mean, that's what we've been fighting for how long? For a long time now, we have been arguing that offensive speech should not be banned. We need to be focusing on what happens when it is big tech censorship, Silicon Valley censorship acting like a king who determines who gets to express themselves and who gets suppressed, and what happens when conservative voices are pushed out of the public square by the private companies who run them. When CEOs act like tyrants, what ability do we have to fight back to protect our right to express ourselves publicly? That is what we need to focus on, not the flag. Because in 2019, it is no longer enough to just throw up your hands, the free market, and surrender yourselves and your speech, your constitutionally protected right to the likes of Mark Zuckerberg and his cronies who have taken it upon themselves to determine that your opinions are not valid and not worthy of circulation. I mean, these platforms are enormous. So much of our discourse happens on these platforms. There are 2.7 billion people using Facebook and Facebook-owned properties. There are 321 million Twitter users and 1.8 billion YouTube users. And according to Pew, 2/3 of American adults get their news at least occasionally from social media. Social media outpaced newspapers in the US as a source of news. I mean, the president, he makes major announcements on Twitter. He uses these platforms to make major policy announcements. If you're shut out of these services, you might as well be shouting to yourself in your own basement because no one's going to hear you and you're not going to hear anyone else. So that is why this debate is so important. We cannot get caught up rehashing the debate on whether or not flag burning should be allowed. That's a distraction, folks. It's stupid. We agree that it sucks. We agree that the people who do it are morons, but let the morons be morons. Let the losers be losers. We have to figure out what we're going to do about the censoring of conservatives and their ideas online, or this movement will die. And that is not hyperbole. It will be over if we lose our access to these platforms. And on that high note, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Remember, the White House Brief can be downloaded on iTunes or Spotify or Google Play or wherever you get your podcasts. So please go subscribe to it, rate it, review it. That's what helps it appear on the charts. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching the White House Brief. We'll see you guys next time.